The invitation arrived embossed and aloof, a gilded ticket punched with the promise of excess. My client, a rapper on the verge of something bigger, had procured it for me. He called it a networking opportunity. I called it a glimpse into the belly of the beast. The address led us to a mansion in Beverly Hills, understated in its extravagance. It whispered wealth instead of screaming it. Inside, celebrities glittered like broken jewels, their names a litany of who's who. Champagne flowed like water, laughter rang hollow in the cavernous space. Drugs were consumed openly, a bacchanalian buffet of vice. I felt out of place, a voyeur in a world built on illusion. My client, however, was in his element. He flitted from conversation to conversation, his laugh booming, his teeth sparkling. He introduced me to actors, directors, producers, the architects of our collective fantasies. They spoke in polished sound bites, their eyes vacant behind carefully constructed smiles. I felt a growing unease, a prickling at the edges of my awareness. Something felt off, like a discordant note in a perfectly composed symphony. As the night wore on, the air grew thick with a cloying sweetness. It wasn't just the perfume, though the air hung heavy with it. It was something else, something darker, something ancient. Around 3 a.m., a hush fell over the crowd. The music, which had been a throbbing pulse all night, shifted. It became slower, heavier, infused with an unsettling rhythm. I noticed the staff, their faces carefully blank, lining the walls. The doors were closed, locked. A collective breath seemed to catch in the room. My client, his face suddenly pale, muttered about an after-party, an exclusive gathering. He urged me to come. He wouldn't meet my eye. I hesitated, a knot of fear tightening in my stomach. The air crackled with anticipation. A hush fell over the remaining guests. All eyes turned to the far end of the room where a figure emerged from the shadows. It was the host, his face a study in contrasts, a charming smile on a face etched with something cold and predatory. He raised his hands and a hush fell over the room. "We give thanks," he intoned, his voice surprisingly deep, resonant. A murmur rippled through the crowd. "We give thanks," they whispered back, their voices hushed, reverent. He then spoke of sacrifice, of power, of tapping into a source beyond human comprehension. My unease transformed into full-blown terror. I wanted to leave, to run, but my feet felt rooted to the spot. My eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape. The other guests, however, seemed enraptured. Their faces, illuminated by a flickering candlelight, held a mixture of awe and something else. Fear, excitement, I couldn't be sure. Their gazes were fixed on a group in the center of the room. Young, beautiful, their eyes glazed with a strange detachment. They knelt, their bodies trembling slightly. He moved among them, touching each one on the forehead. As he did, their trembling intensified. Their shadows, elongated and distorted in the flickering light, began to writhe. The shadows detached from their casters, slithering towards the host like sentient beings. He embraced them, a smile spreading across his face. It wasn't a pleasant smile, it was the smile of a predator savoring its prey. I couldn't breathe. The air was thick, suffocating. The room seemed to spin. The shadows, now fully detached from the kneeling figures, swirled around the host, a vortex of darkness. He laughed then, a sound that chilled me to the bone. It was the sound of something ancient, something evil. Panic seized me, my fight-or-flight response kicked in, my body screaming at me to escape. I stumbled back, bumping into a nearby table. A glass shattered, the sound piercing the hushed silence. All eyes turned to me. The host's gaze fell on me, his smile fading. I saw, in that moment, the true nature of the beast beneath the carefully constructed facade. It was a look that spoke of power, of control, of something beyond human comprehension. I knew then that I had stumbled upon something truly sinister, something that lurked beneath the veneer of glamour and excess. This was not a party. This was a ritual, an ancient, terrifying ritual. I didn't hesitate, I didn't think, I just ran. I bolted towards the back of the house, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I could hear shouts behind me, but I didn't stop. I found myself in a bathroom, the air thick with expensive lotions and a lingering sense of dread. There was a window. It was small, but it was my only chance. I clambered onto the sink, ignoring the sharp pain in my ankle as I smashed the glass. I didn't look back. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs screamed for mercy. I didn't stop until I reached the relative safety of my car, the engine a comforting roar in the stillness of the night. Later, nursing a sprained ankle and a shattered sense of reality, I tried to make sense of what I had witnessed. The internet, however, offered no answers, only whispers, rumors of wild parties, of NDAs and payoffs of things that went bump in the night. The official narrative, carefully constructed and meticulously maintained, painted a picture of hedonism and excess. But I knew the truth. I had seen it in the flickering candlelight, in the shadows that danced with a life of their own, in the eyes of those who knelt, their souls seemingly offered up on a silver platter. The sex, the drugs, the scandals, they were all a smokescreen, a carefully orchestrated distraction from the true horror of what transpired beneath the surface. I knew I would never forget that night. The image of those shadows writhing and coiling around their host would forever be seared into my memory, and I knew with a chilling certainty that the real story, the story of the ritual, would never be told. It was a secret too dark, too monstrous to ever see the light of day.